Hey guys, I'm Duncan Wilson.
And I'm Sasha Syed, and you're listening to the Mortgage Sweet Spot Podcast, proudly presented to you by Mortgage Suite.
This podcast is your go-to source for expert insights, innovative strategies, and the latest mortgage trends to help you make the most informed decision regarding your mortgage financing. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned real estate investor, or maybe somewhere in between, you've come to the right spot.
So sit back, relax, and get ready to discover your mortgage sweet spot. Welcome to the Mortgage Sweet Spot Podcast, episode 20. We have a very special guest today. This is Nadia Khalaf. She's from the, is it Diamond Remax?
Remax Diamond.
She's got her own team. I met Nadia on a deal. She was on the other side of a deal and got it done. She was very impressed with the way I worked. So I was able to go and present to her team and convince her to come hang out with us on this podcast. So here we go. Let's take it away.
Thanks for having me on the podcast,
No
you
problem.
guys.
I would say you just start off by telling us who you are, how long you've been in the industry for, and is it Khalaf or Khalaf?
It's Khalaf.
Khalaf?
It's actually Khalaf.
Khalaf.
But Khalaf will do.
Okay, I like it. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, I've been in real estate for over 10 years now. I'm a real estate broker with Remax Diamond. I've got a powerful partnership, a couple guys with me, Abe and Amit. We are the NK Group. And I really enjoy helping buyers and sellers navigate through this market, especially when it comes to new builds, builder contracts, and timelines.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And there's a lot of that going on right now in the market, I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your experience, you see the market picking up right now. How many listings you have? What's your process for going through? And I know this is way off Maddie's script, by the way, as per usual. But like, take us through the person's journey when they go in, let's say on a new build. Okay, what does that look like to you? What do you tell clients? How do you benefit the actual borrower or the purchaser in this case? Not the borrower, because that's on the mortgage side, but the purchaser in this case. Like, take us through a step-by-step, I guess.
Okay, so a lot has changed first over the last couple of years. What we saw, let's just say 3 years ago, was people were buying based on plans, and then they were building, and that would take 8 months to a year.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2024, 2025, the process adjusted a little bit. Now people are buying once the product is near completion or at completion. But typically, if you are building, that process could take anywhere from 6 to 8 months, okay? Depending on the weather, depending on just, development and all of that. So usually when people come in to see us, if we have a model, it really helps because they're able to see the workmanship, they're able to see, kind of a finished product, and then they can customize somewhat, picking a lot, picking the design. And that I would say the initial couple weeks from choosing what they want, getting to the contract step, and then firming up the deal. That's kind of the most crucial point because a lot of people are not familiar with the steps, with how mortgages are involved, with how much time they have to make their selections, but that, I would say the first 30 days is kind of the most overwhelming step for people.
When you talk about builds, you are not talking this thing called a self-build. You're talking about a builder build, right?
Yeah, so we're talking about...
Yeah, because self-builds are just, they're crazy.
A builder build is usually about 6 to 7 months because the lots are usually serviced. As I mentioned, sometimes there'll be a model home or they may have already broken ground where the client can still make some modifications. Okay. So as I mentioned, usually people come in. It's a lengthy process as far as contracts goes, but once they understand, the fees that are involved, they understand not everything is exactly as shown and what they're responsible for, then from there on, it's easier, I guess you could say.
For instance, someone who comes in and says, hey, I don't like my kitchen and my bathroom anymore. I want to refinance. There could be a possibility here where it's like, why don't you go and maybe sell your house and then buy this new build on the time frame. So I'm assuming they would come to you and say, hey, we're looking at selling our house. What does that kind of look like, I guess? Because they would list it with you and then you're going to go probably take a good month, maybe 30, 60 days to show them maybe different models, I'm assuming, right?
Again, it depends. If they're looking at something that is, let's say, 3 or 4 months from completion, that transition from listing their house and lining up the closings is a little less stressful for the client because we can dictate where the market is going at that point. However, if they come in and they want to customize from the ground up, that process is a little different where we have to time, let's say 3 months into the build, we have to time getting their house ready for sale.
So much.
There's a lot involved, and this is why it's so important. You do your homework on the builder. You do your homework on the agent. You check what they've previously built, or if you're lucky enough to see a finished product, it's great, you know? So again, a lot of people are not so much educated on it, and it makes sense, but timing is key, you know, across the board.
As a person that wants to purchase a home, most of us are so busy in our beautiful lives. So I think that's why people go to Nadia and say, hey, you already have this knowledge. Can you show me a good builder? You have this already researched. This is stuff that literally comes around and says, okay, it's a free service. Nadia's gonna sit there and obviously do it all with you. And then it's paid on the back end with real estate costs, but she's not gonna sit there and say, hey, I gotta charge you $2,000 for doing this research. It's already inside her mind. She already knows the market. So that's kind of a great advantage, I would say as well.
Yeah.
Sasha, what do you got?
Like, so what are you seeing with like contracts? Are they happening in the beginning? You're talking about people looking at new builds maybe 3-4 months before completion. So, because we see right now a lot of issues with new builds with the values coming back a little bit lower than when the time of purchase. So has that changed, or is that still like they have to decide on a purchase price in the beginning and then, hope that the value is still there by the end?
So what I'm seeing is, there's still conditional offers. So typically a buyer will come in with usually 2 conditions, which are your financing and your house to sell. Okay. So the financing typically happens within a week to 10 days. Mm-hmm. And we always ask who they're working with, because from my understanding, different lenders, their process for appraisals are different. Whereas what we like to see, they appraise it from the get-go and it's good right up until the closing, regardless of whether it's finished or not. Some banks do it.
There is one bank that does that. I won't say who they are, but there is one bank that actually gives a hard approval.
Yes.
I can't knock them. It's a sweet product that I wish we'd had on the broker side. But I mean, for your stability in the fact that this thing will close and not cause headaches, I'm assuming most of them go to that product. If you are listening, lenders on the broker side, lenders, give us that product. That'd be awesome.
Just give it to us.
Well, you know what?
Just give them the product.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Back in the day, you could use an appraisal that was 6 months or even up to a year old. Back in the day.
6 months, I would say, back 10, 15 years ago,
Right.
Appraisal was really good because the market was stable. Then around, I would say, 5 years ago, it went to the 6 month mark. Yeah. Now you're looking at like
3,
is it
4?
3 months?
Yeah.
And then some lenders are like, oh, this appraisal, like, I don't even know. Like the stale date rule is, oh, we've noticed some market changes because we've checked Google and there's houses not going for that in there. But really, I would say 3 months is where you're like 90 days.
Yeah, my last few deals that had gone past 30 days, they were okay taking something up to 90 days for appraisals.
Yeah.
But a whole year having a hard approval, it's kind of hard to beat.
Yeah.
It is. And this is why it's so important. And going back to what I said about people gravitating to a finished product or nearly finished product because they can secure that appraisal and the value on their home pretty much stands for at least a couple of months. You know the market, you get it set up that way. They usually will have a condition of house to sell within 30 or 60 days. So the client stays protected, and it's a lot for them when they come in. They're just like, you're using all these terms, but you really have to break them down and tell them, this is what it means. They're like, well, what do you mean I can get bumped or lose the deal? And again, we reinforce the fact that not everybody is coming to a house and putting in a cash offer for $1 million that they're going to bump you. Chances are those buyers are going to need the same conditions as yourself. So we try really, really hard always to protect the interest of the buyer. And also if we're representing both parties, just to facilitate and be that middle ground, I guess you can say, protecting everybody's interest. And it's a lot of work. And going back to what you said, many consumers don't know what we offer, okay? And what we do in order to make this happen like with the best result possible.
Yeah.
And so far, so good.
I mean, that's what we want.
And
For
so,
sure.
like, just for your whole team as a general, is the new builds kind of your niche, or is there something that you guys are kind of
No, we
focused
work
directly on?
I've been doing the new builds now for quite some time. I love it. I enjoy it. I mean, it's definitely part of my bread and butter, but we do residential resale, we do mixed use, we do investments. There's a lot that we cover, which is why it's great that we have that diversity with the team, different timelines, different experience, different niches, like you were saying. But definitely we do have a lot of big projects on the go. And you asked about how many listings, probably, exceeding 30 million in inventory.
Wow.
So there's quite a bit for the next couple of years, and we're definitely very, very excited.
Wow.
So what do you see in the market right now? Switching more from sellers to buyers, or is it pretty even right now?
I mean, there is still an inventory crisis. We can't deny that. There's a lot of activity for sure. I'm even seeing it on the stuff that isn't built up yet, which kind of reminds me of like the pandemic premium times. But at the end of the day, at least if you have something, even if it's in a different location where you can show people a finished product, do your homework, then the consumers feel more at peace, moving forward with that new build.
Okay, so let's do this. I want to break it down a little micro level here. So I'm Duncan Wilson, and I call Nadia and I say, Nadia, I want to list my house and I want to buy this new build. Can you show me a new build? And the offer gets put in. And I love this new build. I've picked my countertops. I've picked the bathroom I want. I've gone to the model home because you said that. And I've chosen everything. And maybe there's some increase in cost because of these inputs that I want. Granite tile in the bathroom. And I want, I don't know, what's the most expensive countertop you can get? Like,
I don't know.
I think they're all quartz and countertops
quartz.
are really...
I want a quartz countertop. So once I get this offer back, what does it look like for deposit? What does it look like for cash up front from my side? Does the builder want that money up front? Like, what's the step-by-step in that regard?
Sure. So a lot of times when you're submitting an offer on a new build, the builder requires draws. Sometimes these are, with the offer, with foundation, framing, roofing. This could go anywhere from $20,000 up to $150,000. So a lot of people that have their money kind of held up in the sale, they might not have, $100,000 laying around. Correct. So I know that there are like construction loans from the bank. It all depends, what they cost, how expensive they are. But depending on the scenario, again, your agent can go back to that builder and say, hey, this is the scenario right now. These people, all their money's held up in the house. Can we do maybe just a standard 20, 30 grand deposit? You should have some. And
that covers, I'm assuming, the Terrion situation. Is that right? Is that what
that's
it's for?
Basically just deposit.
Yeah, okay.
You've got, with new construction, there's development fees, there's Terrion fees. Sometimes builders will pay the Terrion fees. Land transfer is across the board. It's a cost anyhow. That's typically what we've been seeing now, where the deposits are not as big on a finished product. If the product is finished, the builder sees less risk to take a smaller deposit. On a product that has to be built.
What's the average on a product that has to be built, not built?
I would say minimum 60.
60 grand.
But
okay.
Anywhere from 80 to 100 is kind of like the median, I guess you could say. But I would say minimum of 60 grand.
So how is that deposit determined? Is it based on the value of the house, or is it just like the starting cost of the project?
Again, it goes back to what the builder requires. There's some builders that want something even more substantial, but a lot of them are in line with what Terrion covers, which I believe on residential, it's about $60,000 for single family homes. Condos, a little bit less. So they usually do it based on that. Just so, again, the consumer feels like, hey, my deposit is protected.
Yeah, just thinking about it from a consumer standpoint. So like if I'm interested in buying a new build and I'm trying to work out my deposit or down payment or whatever, is it going on the value of the finished build?
Not necessarily.
No, okay.
Not necessarily.
So because I know when we're pre-approving people or getting applications going for these projects, it's like they have to show how much is available, and usually you have to be able to show that 5% of the agreed upon purchase price, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So just wondering if it was different than that than when you're making the deal with the builder.
So it comes down to flexibility. It comes down to the product itself, the timeline, how much risk is involved for that builder. But again, for the most part, on something that's finished, you can sell it because it's done. Yeah. Whereas if we're customizing a new build, there's a lot more risk. to sell it, especially that million plus, that million plus mark. It's a lot more challenging.
Right
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe
land
nobody
cost is
wants
up,
the quotes.
development costs are up. So what do you expect, right?
Yeah, I agree. I know what you mean. And I know we're running out of time, obviously, but let's talk about new construction, new homes as an investment situation. Can they be bought and sold for more in the future?
I was just thinking that.
Is it good to go into them right now with house prices being so high? What's your thoughts? I want to pick your brain on that.
So during the pandemic premium, there was a lot of assignment sales.
I love how it called the pandemic
well, because
premium.
everything was a premium, right?
It was.
There were a lot of assignment sales because it was like a sure thing. People were building and houses were appreciating in months.
Yeah.
So by the time they were completed, you're almost guaranteed, 10%. So that started becoming a big thing here in Windsor, where we saw a lot more of that in like the GTA.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody was doing it in Windsor. And then there's those that got lucky, and then those that missed that bus, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
they got held with an
today,
assignment clause in their hands going, oh my God, I got to close on this property.
they're either selling for a loss.
Yeah.
I don't see many people now offloading because there's money to be made. It's a really tricky question. Would I do it? Probably not.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like we're kind of hitting that ceiling on, price for new builds.
Yeah.
How much more money is left? Even in 6 months or a year, there's a lot of uncertainty.
I agree.
Definitely there's demand in the Windsor area, but there's a lot of uncertainty, and like consumer confidence is down.
Yeah.
So my answer to that would be probably not. I think anybody that's getting into the new build, they're doing it, as an upgrade or relocation from another city where they're getting more for their buck.
I was going to ask you about the demographic too for new builds. Are you seeing it's more like people who are selling their first or second home getting into that, or
Absolutely.
Are you seeing any first-time home buyers jumping into new builds right now?
I would say the majority would be like their second, like their upgrade home, where they've built some equity with their first home, and it makes sense because now they have something new finished. They don't have to touch it for years. It's done.
Yeah.
You know?
So I have a unique question. This term came out and it's no longer called downsizing. So someone's lived in a bigger home their whole lives and they want to right size. Okay.
Yes,
So that's the new word, because downsizing has been canceled officially. So right sizing would be where, an older couple, they're empty nesters and they want to go and move into a smaller home. Do you see any builders in this area or any market for maybe not building a luxury style home, but building smaller retirement homes? Like, it's just a unique question. I just want to know what your thoughts are on that. Is there any of that coming into the market right now?
I think there's a lot of that coming to the market, mainly like the townhouse style new construction. They're anywhere from 1,600 square feet to 1,800 square feet, one floor, easy maintenance. And the demographic they're attracting a lot of these end users, retirees, under $1 million. It's a no-brainer. There is a lot of that out there. And again, it will also depend on location. I think location's a key factor in those type of sales, but we are seeing more of that now. Obviously, there's a lot of condos for sale also. So, hit or miss with the condos, but definitely we are seeing, even in some of the detached homes, like some of the detached homes that we have in Ruthven, they're around the 2,000 square foot range, unfinished basement. But those, depending on the layout, those are attracting a lot of, retirees that just want to sometimes lock up and go, and they find it manageable and clean, done.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Really
That's
nice.
what I mean. Well, guys, I know you've heard it here. I want to thank Nadia for coming in.
Thank you.
And honestly, if you guys want to move out of your house and get a new build, if you want to move out of your house and look for maybe a smaller unit and right size, because that's the new thing, honestly, give Nadia a call. Nadia, what's your contact information so anybody can call you about your specialty and your knowledge that you have in the market?
Well, my website is very easy. It's www.nkrealestate.ca. You're able to navigate and find all of our contact information, our different projects, just anything that you need will be on our website. So I look forward to hearing from you.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen borrowers, thanks for tuning in to the Mortgage Sweet Spot. If you have any suggestions for upcoming episodes or questions for our hosts, me and Sasha, throw them in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you can check us out on YouTube. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.